Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys a little bit about why I tend to base my diet around 5 basic foods. And I'm not even always talking about body composition here because it's not like I am shredded, at least at this time. But what I'm talking about is training, health, longevity. Because, people can't deny the fact that when you're past age 45 and you're deadlifting over 600 pounds regularly, you're clearly doing something right. And I tend to really follow a diet these days that is based upon the largest scale study that was done on cardiovascular disease, which found that people who eat mostly or the most foods from these 5 groups tend to have the lowest cardiovascular disease when all other factors are accounted for all around the world. And that was meat, dairy, fruit, nuts, vegetables. Okay. And notice that when that's listed, there's a fair amount of fat in that diet. All right. And when I say that, though, this doesn't endorse carnivore or vegan or any of these crazy diets, because notice all 5 of those were listed. And usually with the meat, it's usually with leaner cuts of meat, but not necessarily with leaner dairy. And that's kind of the caveat there. So I'll touch on those briefly because we know insulin resistance and lipid profiles can be negatively affected with large amounts of saturated fat, specifically from meat. And there's also some evidence that if it's coming from plants, like, coconut oil. Coconut oil is probably not healthy, at least for you to consume. It might have a lot of skincare and hair care products or benefits, but definitely not heart health, right? Definitely doesn't seem to be up there, irrespective of what people try to say. Same with your red meat, and I'm big on red meat. But, the data indicates that we should usually stick to leaner cuts of it. Okay, leaner cuts doesn't mean we don't get the really fatty ones. It doesn't mean we should be eating bacon and, 70-30 ground beef and stuff. We're talking about leaner cuts of meat. Now, dairy, on the other hand, those seems to be a little bit different in that even full-fat dairies, and this does not include butter. Everyone gets mad, but butter is a junk food. It's a highly refined fat. Okay, it's a highly refined fat that most of the nutrients have been stripped from. Like, look at the nutrient profile on even so-called grass-fed butter. There's like almost no vitamins or minerals in it. It's just pure saturated fat that has been refined and emulsified. Okay, so everyone will talk about, refined oils. Well, think of butter as a refined oil. It really is. It's just a refined milk oil. It's the same thing. It's been refined heavily. Whereas in, fuller fat dairy, including particularly cheeses and yogurts, have been found to be slightly better in terms of cardiovascular risk. In other words, versus a lot of other foods, they actually seem to slightly reduce, it's a very, very small amount of cardiovascular risk, and it seems to have something to do with the culturing and stuff involved. That maybe it offsets any processing of the fat, but it's still not as refined as heavy cream or particularly butter. But these foods seem to help. Whole fat milk has not been linked with cardiovascular disease, cancers, any of these things, insulin resistance, and it doesn't seem to have any negative effect on inflammation. What we do get from all these foods, though, the meats and then the dairy, is all the vitamins, minerals, B12, ultra high quality protein, and keeping in mind protein is the building blocks of our muscle tissue, our tendons, everything else, and we know that with age, loss of muscle is one of the biggest problems. Sarcopenia is the #1 killer. Okay, that's one reason these are high on the list of things that we want in our diet. Now, that being said, while that may upset vegans, no one cares. They can eat a dick. They can eat a whole bag of dicks, right? Although that might not be vegan, they should still do it. So there's where we upset all the carnivore people. These weird fad diets, these things shouldn't even be paid attention to. They shouldn't even be on our radar, to be honest. But, for some reason, they're very vocal and they get involved in these videos, right? And I just ban them. I just ban their stupid asses because I can't stand either group. So let's get over to the other stuff, fruits, nuts, vegetables. This is all your highly anti-inflammatory food. This is where we get all our phytonutrients, antioxidants, And yes, that includes the nuts. What's the big deal with nuts? Mostly the PUFAs. Okay, polyunsaturated fats, including omega-6, are some of the most anti-inflammatory foods you can eat. This is not up for debate. Study after study shows it. Okay, omega-6 is anti-inflammatory, just not quite as much as omega-3. That is debunked myths that it's inflammatory. It's been completely debunked in the lab for years and years. It's nonsense. It's based on an old hypothesis. It was never tested. When it was tested, it was found to be false. So these are extremely anti-inflammatory. Well, that matters for longevity, matters for recovery from training. They're also the fats that improve insulin sensitivity the most. Again, we're talking weight management, building muscle, right? Removing diabetes, lower cancer risk. All right, you want these things. They should be a big staple in your diet. I don't care that they're nutrient dense and some people are worried about them. All right, fine, burn more calories, train more. Plus, nuts have been found for some reason to cause you to use more calories up than they can account for. There's something with it that's been found in studies that they can't figure out the mechanism to where the calories are not fully absorbed in some way, yet they're not excreted at the same time. It's just been noted in weight loss and metabolic ward studies. But they include, tons of other stuff, fibers, phytonutrients. Then we get over to the fruits and vegetables. Fruits really are probably your optimal source for most of your carbohydrates. All right, they're loaded with antioxidants, potassium. They're very, very high in nutrient. And it doesn't matter that they're sugars because that's not our concern. It doesn't even matter if they have some fructose in them. Why? Because if you're eating the diet as we described, the fructose stays in your GI tract longer. Therefore, it doesn't reach the bloodstream as fructose. Therefore, for our purposes, there is really no fructose. Because we only care about fructose that reaches the liver for health purposes, for insulin resistance, fatty liver disease. And in the case of fruit, particularly in a diet that has even more fiber added because you're eating nuts and vegetables and other stuff, we tend to turn all of that fructose into glucose in the GI tract. So none of that's relevant. Yet what we do get is all the phytonutrients, vitamins, minerals, and things that are in fruit, particularly all the antioxidants. And we come over to vegetables as our last thing. Vegetables are just a powerhouse of these things. They're loaded with fiber, vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients, antioxidants. And people need to remember the only antioxidants are not just the ones that we think of as vitamins. Those are the ones that are required to not die, right? So, we think of antioxidants like, vitamin C and E and stuff. Yeah, those are the ones because they're vitamins. They're required to not die. There are dozens and dozens of other antioxidants that have varying antioxidant properties that are not vitamins. They help with oxidative stress. It'll help with your recovery, longevity. It'll help with you just feeling better. Okay, so in general, these are the 5 food groups that were found that the more and more your diet is based upon them, the lower your risk of cardiovascular disease, the lower your risk of cancers. And incidentally, you recover really, really well from training. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.